Welcome, dear listener. You've arrived at a quiet place where the world slows down and the night gently takes over. There is nothing you need to do right now, nowhere you need to go. You can simply rest, breathe, and allow the story to carry you. Tonight's journey will take us far from the noise of the waking world into a place where time softens and the sea remembers ancient secrets. A place where lanterns glow beneath the waves and dragons guard not treasure but stillness. Before we begin, I invite you to settle in. Find a comfortable position. Let your breath become slow and natural. If this space brings you calm, if these stories help you unwind and drift into sleep, you are warmly invited to support the channel. You can do so by gently tapping the like button and subscribing to Moonlight Stories, so you won't miss future journeys through myth, history, and quiet worlds. And if there is a legend, a place, or a forgotten tale you would love to explore on another night, feel free to leave your idea in the comments below. Your suggestions help shape the stories that come next. Now, let the outside world fade. Let the day release its hold on you. Tonight, we begin a tale carried by the ocean itself, a story of sea dragons, quiet courage, and a palace where time comes to rest. This is the Lantern of Ryūjin. Chapter 1. The Shore Where the World Softens. There is a kind of coastline where the day always seems to end quietly, even if the sun is still hanging above the water. A place where the light turns softer, as if it has remembered how to be gentle. The sand is cool beneath bare feet, and the wind carries the clean smell of salt and distant rain. On such a shore, long ago, there was a small village of fishers who lived by the rhythm of the sea. Their houses were low and simple, and their evenings were filled with the same familiar sounds: a kettle warming, a door sliding closed, a child's laughter becoming sleepy and slow, like a bird folding its wings. In that village lived a young fisher named Haru. Not a heroic name, not a name carved in stone. Just Haru, quiet, steady, observant. He had the kind of mind that listened more than it spoke. He noticed the way the tide changed the shape of the shore, the way the moon changed the tide, the way a person's heart could change with one small kindness. Haru spent his days on the water, rowing into the soft blue distance where the sea was a moving field of light. And he spent his evenings near the nets, repairing them with patient hands, watching the sky fade into deepening color. The elders in the village told many stories, stories that were meant to keep children close to home, stories that explained storms, stories that made the world feel less frightening. But there was one story the elders told differently. Their voices would lower, and the fire would crackle as if listening. It was the story of Ryūjin. They said the sea had a king, not a human king, but something older, a dragon who lived beneath the waves in a palace of coral and pearl. A dragon who could command tides and summon calm and turn the ocean's anger back into sleep. They said his palace was called Ryūgujo, the Dragon Palace, and inside it, time did not behave the way it did, above the water. Some villagers believed it. Some smiled politely. Some said nothing. Haru listened. Not because he was eager for adventure, he wasn't, but because he felt something in the story that sounded like truth. Not the kind of truth you can measure, but the kind that settles quietly in the chest. And then, one evening, when the sky was still pale and the air was warm, something happened that made the story feel closer. A small turtle, no bigger than Haru's palm, was caught in the shallow water near the rocks. A few children had gathered around it. They were not cruel, not truly, but they were curious in the careless way of children. They poked at the turtle with a stick. They laughed when it pulled into its shell. Haru watched for a moment. Not angry, just aware. He stepped forward, knelt down, and gently lifted the turtle in both hands. It was light, trembling, alive. "Let it go," he said softly. The children hesitated, then shrugged and scattered like leaves. Haru carried the turtle to a quieter place where the water lapped calmly. He held it low, close to the surface, and waited. The turtle extended its head slowly, as if the world had to earn its trust. Its eyes were dark and patient. Haru whispered, as though speaking to the sea itself, "Go back." And the turtle slid from his hands into the water, disappearing into the delicate motion of the tide. Haru stood there for a moment, breathing in the salt air, letting the day end gently. And he did not notice at first that the sea had become unusually still. Not empty, not dead. Still, as if it was listening. That night, Haru slept, and he dreamed of water that glowed from within, like moonlight softened into silk. He dreamed of a staircase made of shells leading down into a blue darkness that felt safe. He dreamed of lanterns floating like slow stars. And when he woke before dawn, he felt strangely like something had called his name, not with a voice, with a pull, a gentle invitation. Chapter 2. The Turtle Returns. The next day moved like any other. The village woke. Nets were carried. Boats were pushed into the water. The sea, ordinary again, stretched out in long moving lines of silver. Haru told himself it was just a dream. But when he returned in the afternoon, as the light began to tilt toward evening, he saw the turtle again. It was waiting near the same rocks, as if it had been placed there carefully by invisible hands. Haru crouched, looking down. The turtle did not hide this time. It swam closer, steady and calm. It rose to the surface and looked up at him. In its gaze, there was something quiet and certain, like a door left open. And then, very slowly, the turtle turned, moving away from the shore, stopping after a few feet, as if to check whether Haru was following. Haru's heart did not race. It did not shout. It simply leaned forward. He stepped into his small boat, pushed off, and followed the turtle across the calm water. The village behind him became smaller. The sounds faded. Even the birds grew quiet. The turtle swam with unhurried purpose. As the shore disappeared into mist, the sea changed color. The surface became smoother, like polished stone. The air became cooler, like the inside of a cave. Haru felt something shift in the world around him, as if he had crossed an unseen boundary. Then the turtle stopped. It lifted its head, and the water beneath it began to glow. Not bright, not harsh. A soft, luminous blue, like a slow breath. The surface of the ocean opened quietly, impossibly, like a curtain pulled aside, and beneath it, a path revealed itself, descending into the water. Haru stared, his thoughts slowing. He should have been afraid, but the feeling that rose inside him was not fear. It was recognition, as if his dream had simply become a door. The turtle swam downward along the glowing path. Haru took a breath and followed. The water around him did not press in. It felt more like air, cool, weightless, gentle. He could breathe. He could move. He could see. Lanterns made from shells and pearl floated in the blue darkness, casting soft light on the path. Strange fish drifted by like living jewels, their movements slow and peaceful. And somewhere far below, Haru saw the outline of a gate. Two towering pillars of coral rose up, carved with patterns like waves. The gate was open, waiting. Haru drifted through, and the sea, like a patient guardian, closed behind him. Chapter 3. The Dragon Palace. Inside the gate, the world became quiet in a new way. Deeper, softer, as if sound itself had learned to rest. The palace of Ryūjin was not made like human palaces. It did not glitter to impress. It glowed because it was alive. Walls of coral shimmered in gentle colors: rose, pearl, sea green. The floors were smooth stone warmed by some hidden current. Curtains of kelp moved slowly like silk in a breeze. Haru's boat was gone now, as though it belonged to another world. He stood on the palace floor, steady, breathing as if he had always known how. The turtle had become something else. Not larger, not monstrous, but changed. Its shell shimmered like lacquer. Its eyes held a clear intelligence. It bowed just slightly, and then turned into a corridor where lantern light softened every shadow. Haru followed. The corridor opened into a great hall. In the center of the hall was a pool of still water, perfectly clear. Beneath the surface, light moved like slow ink, forming shapes that felt like memories. And on the far side of the hall, seated calmly on a low platform of stone and pearl, was Ryūjin. He was a dragon, yes, but not the kind of dragon that roars and burns, not the kind that terror makes. He was vast, coiled with quiet power. His scales were dark, like deep ocean at night, edged with a sheen like moonlight on water. His eyes were old, not ancient in a frightening way, but ancient like mountains, like the sky, patient, knowing. Haru's knees wanted to bend, not from fear, from reverence. Ryūjin spoke without moving his mouth. The voice appeared inside Haru's mind like a calm thought. You returned my messenger. Haru swallowed, his throat dry. I only let it go, Haru said. It didn't belong to us. Ryūjin's gaze held him gently, like warm water. In a world where many take, you released. The hall seemed to breathe. Then Ryūjin said, "Come closer." Haru stepped forward. The air felt cool and clean. He realized he was not trembling. He was simply present. Ryūjin continued, "The surface world has forgotten how to listen. The sea still remembers. And you, Haru, you listened." Haru did not know what to say, so he said nothing. Ryūjin's tail shifted, slow as a tide. "There is something you may carry back," the dragon said. "Not gold, not power. Something quieter." At those words, a figure stepped out from behind one of the coral pillars. A woman dressed in robes that shimmered like fish scales in soft light. Her hair was dark and long, floating as if the sea itself adored it. Her eyes were kind, and she moved with the calm of someone who has never rushed. She bowed slightly. "I am Otohime," she said, her voice gentle as rain, "daughter of the Dragon King." Haru's heart softened. The name felt familiar, like a story he had heard long ago. Otohime smiled. "You are welcome here." Haru's mouth opened, then closed. Otohime looked at him with warm understanding. "You don't have to speak much. The palace prefers quiet." And with that, the hall seemed to brighten just slightly, as if approving. Otohime gestured toward a corridor lined with lanterns. "Come. You must be tired." Haru followed her. His thoughts grew slower. The palace did not excite him, it soothed him. The deeper he walked, the more the world above seemed like a distant dream. They entered a room where the ceiling was open to a view of the ocean, blue and endless. Small fish drifted past like living stars. A table was set with bowls of fruit that glowed softly, pearls of sweetness. Sea grapes, something like honeyed citrus. Otohim invited him to sit. Haru sat, the quiet wrapped around him like a blanket. And for the first time in a long time, Haru felt what it was like to be cared for by a world that asked nothing. Chapter 4. The Feast of Soft Hours. Time in the Dragon Palace did not march. It drifted. Haru ate slowly, tasting flavors that felt both unfamiliar and deeply comforting. The fruit was sweet and cool. The water tasted like clean rain. The air smelled faintly of salt and blossoms. Otohim spoke now and then, but never in a way that demanded response. Her words were like lanterns placed along a path, helpful, gentle, optional. Some who come here feel afraid, she said softly. Not of Ryūjin, not of the palace, but of stillness. Stillness can feel strange when you've lived your whole life in motion. Haru nodded because it was true. Otohim continued. The sea is never truly still, but it knows how to be quiet. That is a kind of wisdom. After the meal, she led him through rooms where coral grew like art and pearls rested in bowls like pale moons. They passed a garden where sea anemones waved gently like flowers. The palace glowed without brightness, calming without darkness. Haru felt himself becoming lighter inside, not floating, just less burdened. At last, Otohim led him to a balcony that opened to an enormous view of the deep ocean. Far away, a soft glow moved through the water schools of fish, drifting like slow constellations. This is where we listen, Otohime said. They stood together, silent. Haru listened, not for words, for the feeling of the sea itself. He felt the tides like breaths. He felt currents like slow thoughts. He felt time like a gentle spiral. Then, from below, a shadow moved. Large, quiet. A second dragon drifted past the balcony, smaller than Ryūjin, but still immense. Its scales shimmered like dark jade. It did not look up. It simply passed, as if guarding the palace in its sleep. Haru's heart flickered with intrigue. Otohim's voice was soft. "Not all dragons rule," she said. "Some protect. Some carry storms away. Some carry dreams." "Dreams?" Haru whispered. Otohime nodded. "Have you ever noticed how the sea can make you sleepy even when you are awake? The rhythm, the sound, the endlessness. Dragons are part of that. They keep the oceans dreaming gentle." Haru's eyelids grew heavy. He realized he could fall asleep right here, standing beside this quiet princess, and nothing would harm him. Otohim looked at him kindly. "You may rest," she said. "The palace will hold you." Haru slept, and in his sleep he dreamed of a lantern shaped like a shell, glowing softly. Inside it, a small flame moved like a slow heartbeat. Chapter 5. The Gift That Is Not a Treasure. When Haru woke, he did not know how much time had passed. The palace light had not changed. The ocean beyond the balcony looked the same, endless, calm blue. Otohime was waiting nearby, as if she had never left. "Ryūjin wishes to see you," she said. Haru stood, his body feeling rested in a way he had forgotten was possible. They returned to the great hall. Ryūjin waited, coiled in stillness. "You have slept in my kingdom," the dragon said inside Haru's mind. "And you have not tried to take what does not belong to you." Haru lowered his gaze. Ryūjin continued, "There is a gift you may carry back, but understand this. It is not meant to make you greater than others. It is meant to make you quieter inside." At those words, Otohime stepped forward, holding a small box lacquered wood, simple, polished. She placed it in Haru's hands. It was light. Ryūjin said, "This is the Lantern of Soft Hours." Haru looked down at the box. It did not feel like a treasure. It felt like something intimate, like a secret. "What does it do?" Haru asked. Ryūjin's gaze warmed, like sunlight through water. "It reminds time how to slow," he said. "When storms come outside or inside, you may hold it, and the rhythm of the sea will return to you." Haru's fingers tightened slightly around the box. Otohim's voice was gentle. "It is not magic like a spell," she said. "It is magic like breath." Haru wanted to ask more, but the words began to slip away. The palace made questions feel less urgent. Ryūjin said, "Now you must return." Haru's chest tightened, not in fear, in reluctance. He had forgotten how heavy the surface world could feel. Otohim seemed to understand. "We do not keep those who must live above," she said softly. "But the sea will remember you." Ryūjin's voice flowed like a tide. "One more thing," he said. "When you return, the world may not match what you expect." Haru's heart paused. "What do you mean?" he asked. Ryūjin did not answer directly. He only said, "Carry the lantern gently. Do not open what is meant to remain closed." Haru nodded, though he did not fully understand. Otohim touched his shoulder lightly warm, kind. "Go slowly," she whispered, "and breathe." The turtle appeared again, waiting near the gate. Haru followed. The glowing path rose upward. Lanterns floated beside him like quiet stars. And soon he was moving through water that felt more like air, toward the surface that looked like a veil of light. Haru emerged near the same rocks. The sea was calm. The sky was familiar. And yet, the air felt different. The shore looked the same. But the village was not as he remembered. Chapter 6. The Day That Moved Without Him. Haru walked toward the village slowly, his feet sinking into sand that felt colder than before. He looked for familiar shapes, boats pulled up on shore, nets drying, smoke from chimneys. He saw them, but something was off, like a song played in the wrong key. A few people passed. Their clothing looked newer, their hair different, their faces unfamiliar. Haru's stomach softened into confusion. He reached his own house only to find it changed. The wood darker, worn by years he could not account for. The doorway frame repaired in a way he did not recognize. His hands trembled slightly. He stepped into the village square. Children were playing. One looked at him with curiosity, then ran away, laughing. Haru turned in a slow circle. Time had moved. Not a little, a lot. Panic tried to rise inside him, but the palace had taught his body a new rhythm. The panic met the quiet and softened. He held the lacquered box tighter. He did not open it. He remembered Ryūjin's warning. He walked toward the elder's house. The elder's house was still there, larger, rebuilt. A man sat on the porch, older than Haru remembered. Much older. The man looked up. His eyes widened. "Haru," he whispered, as if saying a ghost's name. Haru's breath caught. "You remember me." The man rose slowly, trembling. "I was a child when you left," he said. "They said you were lost at sea." Haru's mind drifted, stunned. "How long?" The old man swallowed. "Many years," he said. "Long enough that we stopped hoping." Haru's chest tightened with sorrow that was too quiet to be dramatic. It felt like a heavy blanket. He had left for what felt like a night and returned to a different life. The old man looked at the box in Haru's hands. "Did you go to the Dragon Palace?" he whispered. Haru nodded. The old man's eyes filled with something like awe and fear. "They say time sleeps there," he said. "They say if you eat their food, you belong to their hours." Haru looked down at the box again. He wanted to open it. He wanted to fix everything. But Ryūjin's voice echoed, "Do not open what is meant to remain closed." Haru sat down on the porch step, the weight of years settling around him. The old man sat beside him. They did not speak for a while. The evening air cooled. The world softened. Then Haru whispered, "What do I do now?" The old man's voice was gentle. "You live," he said, "and you bring quiet where you can. That is what the sea gave you." Haru closed his eyes. He breathed slowly, and in that breath he felt a trace of the palace of lantern light, of drifting time. He understood then. The gift was not meant to undo the past. It was meant to soften the present. Chapter 7. The Storm That Came in a Small Shape. Weeks passed. Haru found a place to live, a small house near the shore. He mended nets again, He helped fishers. He listened more than he spoke. People whispered about him, some with curiosity, some with unease, some with reverence. But Haru did not cling to any story about himself. The palace had taken that hunger away. Sometimes, at night, he would sit near the water with the box in his lap, feeling its smooth surface under his fingertips. He still did not open it. He remembered Ryūjin's warning. Then, one evening, a storm began to form. Not an ocean storm yet, not wind and thunder. A storm in the village. A sickness had come to a child, a fever that would not break. The child's mother cried in the street. The elders argued. People moved in circles of fear. Haru watched, feeling the old urge to fix, to control, to force the world back into safety. He walked to the child's house quietly. He sat near the doorway, not intruding. Inside, the child's breathing was shallow. The mother's sobs rose and fell like a rough tide. Haru placed the box gently on the floor. He did not open it. He simply held it, and he began to breathe. Slow, deep, even. He let his breath become a rhythm, a calm rhythm the room could borrow. At first, nothing changed. But then, the mother's crying softened. Her shoulders lowered slightly. The air in the room felt less sharp. The child's breathing became a little steadier, not cured, not miraculous, but steadier. Quiet began to spread like warmth. The mother looked at Haru through tear-filled eyes. "What are you doing?" she whispered. Haru's voice was soft. "Listening," he said, "and breathing." The mother's hand found the child's forehead. She breathed too. The room held stillness for a moment. And in that moment, even if the sickness remained, the fear loosened. Haru realized then what the lantern truly was. Not a tool to change reality. A tool to change the way the heart moves through reality. Chapter 8. The lantern opens without opening. Years passed again. Not the years that had been stolen, but ordinary years. Haru lived quietly. He became a steady presence in the village. The story of his disappearance became part of local legend. Children grew up hearing it as a bedtime tale. And Haru kept the box. One night, when the moon was thin and bright, Haru went to the shore alone. The sea was calm, the wind was gentle. He sat on a rock, the box in his lap. He felt tired, not in a sad way, in a natural way, like the day had been full enough. He looked at the ocean, and he thought of Ryūjin, of Otohime, of the palace where time rested. He whispered, "Thank you." Then, without thinking too hard, his hands moved. He lifted the lid. Inside was a small lantern, shaped like a shell, glowing softly, as if it had been lit all this time. The light was not bright. It did not flash. It did not demand. It simply warmed the air around it. Haru held it in both hands. The sea seemed to breathe with him. The waves became slower, gentler, like a lullaby that had always existed, but was only now being noticed. Haru's thoughts softened, and in the lantern's glow, he felt the presence of the Dragon Palace, not as a place he needed to return to, but as a quiet space inside himself. He understood then what Ryūjin meant. The lantern did not change time. It changed his relationship with time. It reminded him that even in the surface world, where years move forward and nothing can be undone, there is still a place where the heart can rest. Haru's eyelids grew heavy. The ocean hummed. The lantern glowed. The world felt safe. And as Haru drifted into sleep, the sea seemed to whisper, not with words, but with rhythm. You are held. You are safe. You may rest now. The lantern glows softly. The ocean breathes. The night holds everything gently. Nothing needs to be solved. Nothing needs to be rushed. You are safe. You may sleep now. You may sleep now. You may sleep now.